All right.
Hey, Gerard.
Armand, how are you?
I'm feeling awesome.
You're feeling awesome? do you feel bodacious?
What about you?
Bodacious? Hey, whenever I'm around you, I'm bodacious.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I'm trying to get your secret, You're always looking good. You always keep traveling on those conferences.
Yep.
Yeah, what's your secret, man?
My secret is I married a good woman.
Yeah, I can testify that one.
No, I hope not too much.
So Gerard, who are you?
Who am I? I'm a guy who grew up in the Washington D.C. area.
Okay.
And lower middle income family. My dad died when I was 16. My mom had a nervous breakdown, so I was somewhat like an orphan.
Okay.
And then I just worked all the time. I watched a lot of, I didn't want to get any help from anybody. I wanted to do it on my own. So when I was in high school and college, I had 5 jobs. And I just worked my way up into the world and just always wanted to win.
Okay. Oh, that's great. What about the technology? When exactly did you get close to the technology?
So the technology ecosystem. So when I was a young man, I knew I needed to get into technology because I didn't know what it was. And so I decided to become an IT recruiter.
Okay.
Right? And I didn't know anything about it, but what happened was when I got the job as an IT recruiter, every time I would interview somebody, right, for a job, I wasn't really interviewing them for the job. I was interviewing them to learn.
Okay.
So instead of going to, well, I did go to college, but not for IT. So to learn IT, I basically interviewed lots and lots of IT professionals as an IT recruiter.
Okay.
And that's how I developed my IT background.
Oh, that's great, that's great. And today we have Government Blockchain Association.
Yeah.
What is your role inside the government?
So I'm the executive director.
Okay.
And what happened was in about 2016.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about where GBA is. Where GBA?
Well, why? Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So in August of 2016, I learned that my son had bought some Bitcoin, and when he sold them, he made a ton of money. And
yeah. I can imagine. Bitcoin people.
So he bought a few dollars worth of Bitcoin, and when he sold it, he paid for a car, a motorcycle, his college tuition, and his living expenses.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it kind of got my attention. So
wow. Thanks to the Bitcoin.
So I said, look, I want to get in this field. I was never somebody who followed the regular path.
Okay.
I said I want to get in this thing. So we had a meetup in August of 2016. We had 2 people show up. And today we
only
have
2 people.
2 people.
Whoa! I'm sorry for that.
And yeah, it was very embarrassing. I had 100 chairs in the room. 100 chairs, 2 people. But today we have about 15,000 people in about 100 cities around the world.
Yes. Wow.
So it just kind of exploded.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that the most amazing thing about it is, well, I can take credit for the part that I did, but what's happened over the last couple of years is people like you in Africa, and people in India and London and all over the world, they came to the table and we've created a community, like a family. And everybody brings, it's like a big buffet. Everybody brings their food and we all get to have a feast.
Yeah, so if I understand well, you started meetup with just 2 people, and today we have all those single points across the world, because I see the world.
Right. Yeah.
How did you manage to? What's your secret?
Well, okay. So initially we started in Washington D.C.
Okay.
And my goal was always just to serve. Right. I knew I wanted to be successful in this, but I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
So I said, you know what? I'm just going to help. So I said, a lot of people want to learn about it. So I said, I can do enough research using Google to put a presentation together just to inform people.
Okay.
And so month after month, we just started informing people about blockchain and supply chain and identity and different things. And then somebody came up to me after the meetup one night, and they said, hey, I like what you're doing. Can we duplicate this in New York?
Okay.
And I said, sure, I'll send you the slides. And then somebody else came from Atlanta, right? Randall in Atlanta. And then, one by one, it started moving to different cities. Well, I couldn't support all of those chapters. So we started creating working groups.
Yeah.
And then, we started standing up working groups on different topics. Today we have 50 working groups on many of these topics up here. So now the working groups now feed the chapters. And we're a business league, so we try to connect the people in government who need blockchain solutions with the industry. So, so the people in government come to GBA for free.
Okay.
They don't pay anything, and then the people that have solutions come to GBA, and they connect in the working group and the chapters. Solutions are built globally, but they're sold locally.
Okay.
So the chapters are like a local community, and the working groups are like global resource centers.
Okay. Do you know Africa?
I know you, and I'm one of my greatest experiences is when you contacted me.
Okay.
And you said, come to Africa, and I said no. And you said, come to Africa, I said no. I was like, I don't, you're very persistent, You're
I was trying to get my chance,
You did, yeah, and you wouldn't leave me alone. So finally, I got on a plane, and you brought me to Africa and to Cameroon specifically, and we had a wonderful time. Tell them a little bit about the event that we did in Cameroon, because that was a great event.
Yeah, I think it was something huge. It was the Cameroon Blockchain Conference. I think it was something really interesting. We had a lot of decision makers around. We had like different entrepreneurs involving in the blockchain and crypto environment. I thought you were surprised to see all those guys with different technologies, and
I was very impressed.
Yes, and exactly as you, a bunch of people started coming across cryptocurrencies first.
Yeah.
And by the way, as soon as more people keep coming, they had to educate newcomers, and education started by going to the roots. Right. Going to understand the blockchain technology itself, and I think today we have a more mature environment in terms of blockchain.
I was really impressed by the quality of people, and you had a bunch of their folks there from government.
Yeah.
In fact, I was so impressed that I actually become the GBA global lead for Africa.
Yeah, exactly. And it was something into the plan, the global plan by Chin and Haas and my heart. And today Africa is a new world.
Yeah.
Africa is the new world, especially in the socio-strategic and economic perspective. We have more than 1 billion inhabitants now, and the growth of the population is by the 15 upcoming years, Africa will be huge, and 65% of population is young, and nothing is there in terms of big technologies, in terms of adoption, almost nothing is there, so it's where everything is about to happen. And I think today it was really important to come close to such a big organization like GBA, who has thought leaders. You talked about working groups, all those stuff, and having a win-win way of sharing the knowledge, of having people exchanging their experiences. I think it was something into our plan, because we...
Wait a minute, you're saying that we had a plan?
Yeah, for sure. Always a plan. Always a plan.
When two people showed up at my first meetup, after I promoted it like crazy, I didn't have any confidence and faith in my plan.
It's sometimes the case when you start, the entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah.
And today, I want us to talk more about the future.
Sure.
The future. What do you think? Blockchain, most of the people think blockchain is a technology stuff. Can you think the blockchain can bring a change at a decision maker level?
Well, yes and no. So I'll share with you a conversation that we had with a government official, right? Okay. And you probably remember this. And the president of that country had been president for a long time.
Okay.
Right? And the government official said to us, we want blockchain in all of the different use cases, except for voting. Voting works just the way we like it. So here's the reality. The places where there's a lack of integrity and trust, where they really need blockchain, they're not going to adopt it right now.
Okay.
Right? The places where we don't need blockchain, where there is integrity and trust, it will be very easy to implement blockchain right now. And that's where we have to start. Because as a brand new technology, right, as a brand new technology people don't have confidence in yet, it's very immature, we're still learning about it. We need to cut our teeth in the places where it's not so big and hard and risky.
Okay.
Small scales, proof of concept.
Trying to find out the right balance.
Right, and letting the technology mature and letting the infrastructure mature. And as we develop strength and capability and confidence there, we can then start moving into the places where it's going to be more of a struggle.
Okay.
But we've got to prove it in the places where it's not so challenging yet.
Okay.
This is a big uphill battle,
Okay.
right? It will impact the world in a great way, but we've got to take it. We've got to take it step by step and figure out how to win, right? Before we go running off a cliff.
Okay, actually decision makers, I had a chance to be close to them in many countries in Africa, and decision makers struggle sometimes on how to adopt, how to even understand how can be the right strategy you can propose to those governments to embrace the blockchain. What can be the best strategy at their standpoint? You know, most of the government in Africa are very slow to adopt the new technology. They're very slow most of the time, out of the dates.
Right.
What can be the best strategy?
So the first thing we got to do is we have to figure out, well, what's in their best interest, right? What is it they want to accomplish, right? Mm-hmm. And so for most government leaders, what they want to do is bring prosperity to their community,
okay,
right? Because if their people are happy, if their people are making money, if their people, have economic prosperity, then their leadership in government is more secure.
Okay.
So we've got it, and what we have in Africa,
mm-hmm,
right, is a tremendous resource pool, right? And I believe it's undervalued. So I believe we bring the education. You taught me this about when you were a young man and you realized you needed skills, right? I think the most important thing is develop the skills in Africa first.
Yeah.
Then start to develop solutions.
Yeah.
Then sell those solutions globally.
Yeah.
Which brings economic prosperity.
Exactly.
Right, and with that economic prosperity brings
can be
industry.
sustainable.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
So
the market is not in Africa. The market is in the rest of the world.
Yes, for sure.
In places like the United States, a lot of the solution developers are leaving the United States because of the regulatory challenges.
Okay.
Right. There are resources in Africa that can work on those projects. They can bring great economic prosperity, and then we'll bring the industry down.
And that's an export because
yes,
I was at the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund events. Most of the recommendation they were giving to emerging countries and economies in Africa was to export more.
Yeah.
And I think exactly using the education and the way to build application,
right,
Africa can export it to the world. And
right,
you just said something interesting about education and build solution. Sometime in Africa, most of the time, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, you have a disparity between the education and the creation.
Right.
So what can be a key?
Well, this is exciting, right? We talked about this a little bit earlier. One of the strategic goals for 2020 for GBA is we're going to convert our chapters into innovation hubs, which means step number one, we bring education and training. More education in terms of understanding it generally, but training in terms of skills.
Okay.
Right. And then we're going to start creating challenges, and so voting is going to be one that we're going to do. We're going to do supply chain, probably healthcare, a whole bunch of them.
Tax collection. Yeah.
Right, tax collection. Right. Yeah. And so now what we need from governments is we need governments to participate with us, to join GBA. They can join for free.
Okay.
To give us the requirements, and ideally maybe a little bit of funding to pay for the challenges.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we do hackathons with some of the best and brightest minds in Africa.
At least the government, local government, at least instead of sometimes money they struggle, sometimes they can provide like facilities, grants, and yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But one of the things that's great about hackathons, right, is instead of the government doing a contract for a lot of money for very little bit of money, they can motivate people to come and compete.
100%.
And more importantly, if they win that competition, they have an opportunity to build out that solution for the government.
That makes sense.
So for a very small amount of investment, governments can essentially attract some of the best and brightest minds to build out solutions.
Okay, let's talk a little bit. You know, when we talk about global organization like GBA with thousands of members, many chapters, many countries represented, let's talk about a little bit about the organizational structure, because that's huge. How you guys manage operations?
I have no idea. You know, listen, if it weren't for people like you, right, and Shiv in Europe and Gerard in India, you know, what happened was we started the train coming down the track, and then guys like you started running alongside and said, hey, I can help, right?
Yeah.
And so now one of the things I'm so excited about is in Africa, we're now starting to stand up, you know, because we don't believe in centralization.
Yes, for sure, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So we got to decentralize. So there's got to be
sense of
right. There's going to be an Africa GBA, right? There's going to be national. And people have to be able to interact in their own local currencies, comply with their own laws, and not be concerned that they're dealing with, you know, some country on the other side of the world that doesn't have their best interests. We got to go. For us to be global, we got to go local.
Okay, excellent. If you have at last a recommendation directly addressed first to decision makers, then second to the startup and creativity environment and education sector, what can be your advice to those different categories?
In the GBA space, the best and the brightest for getting governments down the pathway is really interacting with their local GBA chapters. Because the GBA chapters build a local community, but they're connected with working groups from all over the world.
Exactly.
Right?
I think that's the key, really. Yeah, and yeah, they can. It's like we have like a feedback loop. Some in some other places who has experienced regulations, implementation, can share their knowledge, and yeah.
And if they don't know how to find their local chapters or whatever, they go to the gbaglobal.org webpage, right, and go to About. They'll see all the different leadership. They'll see you there, your contact information for Africa, and you can get them connected with whatever the local city or country chapter is.
Okay, can you remind us the global mission of GBA worldwide?
Yes, it's to connect government, to connect the public and private sector around blockchain solutions. So for our government members, it means getting them high-quality blockchain-based products and services.
Okay.
And for our private sector members, it's helping them sell their products and services, blockchain services, to government. So we connect them together. And then the other aspect of that is we want to be thought leaders, because this technology is going to break a lot of paradigms. It's going to be like a wrecking ball to some industries.
Okay.
And folks in government and private industry have got to figure out what to do. Right? So what's the financial industry going to do when we start using cryptocurrencies and the financial regulatory schemes aren't working anymore?
Okay.
Right? So in GBA, we want to be thought leaders,
Okay.
so we can provide solutions for public and private sectors.
Okay, normally I'm done, but I have a question many millions of Africans want to understand or to get a reply to. What do you think about Libra from Facebook?
I'm surprised they started it. I think that they underestimated the huge regulatory challenges that they're going to have. I think it's good for the industry.
Okay.
But because what it does is it started the conversation. It's put this on the radar screen of decision makers.
Okay.
Right? It scared them, quite frankly. But I think it's going to be very hard and very challenging for them. I think my understanding is that a lot of people are having second thoughts. Look, you know, in social media, we had MySpace, right?
Okay.
MySpace set the groundwork for Facebook,
Okay.
right? It's going to be challenging for them, but I think overall it was great for our industry, and it's just part of the long journey going into the future.
Is it true Facebook will have too much power with Libra as well?
You know, what we do know is that there are a lot of different cryptocurrencies,
Okay.
right? There are a lot of options, and the challenge that we as society have is we can let technology companies make it easy for us and give them full control, or we can try to be free, which is harder for us, but it gives us more self-control and more autonomy over our lives. And where that battle ends up, I don't know, right? But we see it right now. You know, people are giving away their privacy and their freedom to other organizations voluntarily, right? You know, I mean, right now people can track everything that we do.
Okay.
We could stop it. We could turn our phones off, but we like the convenience that the technology gives us.
Yes, for sure.
I don't know where that ends up.
Okay. When you and your family you will be back in Africa?
What's that?
When's your next time you will be in Africa with your family?
I'm hoping that when you do your GBA event, the Future of Money Governance through Law, right? That would be great.
Okay, I got it.
You know what? One of my favorite experiences is when we had when we ate at that restaurant, and you know everything was outside. The cooking was outside.
Yeah, we call it soya for Cameroonians people. Soya.
Oh, it was great.
It
It was great. And then you took me on the road that you didn't tell me until after we got to our destination. It was the most dangerous road in Cameroon.
Douala Yaoundé, the road Douala to Yaoundé.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
I thought we were friends, but that's okay.
But you're alive.
I'm alive. Whatever that doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Okay,
No,
thank you very much, Mr. Gerard.
I'm so grateful for your friendship.
Yeah,
And,
thank you.
And I'm so grateful we had a chance to meet, and you were so persistent.
Yeah,
And the future we have in Africa is going to be tremendous.
perfect. The future is Africa. Let's keep connected and welcome.
All right, thanks.
Done.